If you can stop talking for 10 seconds, that would be fantastic. You want to hit the start timer on there? You want to hit? You want to start podcasting, genius?
Our heroes, we think of our veterans, also the first responders, DoorDash drivers, but most importantly, people who rescued a dog from a dog rescue. Have you met them? Right there, there's one right there. What kind of dog is that? It's a rescue. People who run rescues, hearts of gold, all of them, doing the Lord's work, and that's coming from an atheist. Also, batshit crazy. So my wife has been running a dog rescue for 21 years. Yes, we run a special need hospice senior dog care rescue. Yeah. I tell you that so you know how much better we are than you. How broke we are. She could get a call right now. 7 hours away, someone dumped in a shelter a 19-year-old Shih Tzu that's blind, odd number of legs, best describes as bitey, and she goes and gets his paperweight with a pulse, and we have to take care of it till another sucker comes, till we find its forever home. Our house is like the island of misfit toys, if the toys couldn't control their bowels. And she likes to soften me up by naming these winners after rock stars I like. The last one, 6-pound cartoon bug-eyed little Boston Terrier, named him Iggy Pup. That's pretty cool. In the morning we realize he's deaf. You know what I call him now? It doesn't matter! Oh, Jesus Christ. And the application process. It's 27 pages long, and it's invasive. And we wouldn't pass the application process. But if she likes your application, she does a home check, and she drives to your house to make sure you don't live like we do. Then comes the signing of the contract. Where in writing, you promise, you pledge, you swear. If this 28-year-old dog needs medical intervention to get through the night, you do whatever it takes. You get the second job, you start an OnlyFans site. I have bad teeth, so our dogs don't have to. And if you're still looking for a little fur baby, see me after the show. Sir Poops a Lot needs a new home. But before you ask, yes, our house smells exactly like you think it does.
Hello, and welcome to Carnival Personnel Sideshow. I don't have Biff with me today, which would have been fun because, you know, Biff knows about this world. It would have been fun to have Joe because it's always fun to have Joe. But we do have a special co-host, somebody who has been mentioned on almost every episode of the show, has almost listened to no episodes of the show, but we lovingly all refer to her as management. Let's have a big Carnival Personnel welcome for my current wife, Ellen. Okay, you can say hello now. There, okay.
Hello now.
And I don't know how long Ellen and I were living together, and she moved out to Venice, California, 2003. Late 2003. I could backdate the specific date because I had to park the moving van 2 blocks from the house and sprint home. And I drove through the night so I would see kickoff of a Colts-Patriots game because that's how I was. And she had a bunch of animals with her. We drove across country, and I want to say there were 3 cats in the moving van, and I think just one dog, Ellen?
1 dog, 3 cats, 1 rabbit.
Okay, right. I forgot about the rabbit. So in a moving van with all her stuff from Revere, Mass to Venice Beach. You know, we made that trip in about 3.5 days. Within the first 7 months, it was her birthday. So 7 months later, we rescued our first dog really great. A couple buddies helped get us this dog that ended up going on to be the entire love of my life. We had her or him. How long did Loki last?
We got him in 2004 and we had him for 14 years. So he made it with us. We like to say that he traveled with us until we bought our current house, our home, and he lived with us here for almost a year before he left us.
But he moved to Qatar with us, and all that stuff. But somewhere along the line, Ellen decided she was going to start working with and volunteering with different rescues, and then started her own rescue. And it's been nothing but sunshine and roses the entire way.
I do want to point out that when I started working with rescues, because the dog that I had that had traveled in the van with us was the love of my life. Yes. So when Gypsy died is when I was considering getting another dog, but we had Loki. And you said to me, well, maybe you should foster and see how it goes. And maybe we'll see a dog that we like. So you are actually the reason that we got into rescue, because it was your suggestion that I foster, which is the reason for all of this now. So you're my origin story.
Okay. Well, this is the first time I've heard this. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I am not. In 2004, I was what was known as a drinker. if memory serves, most days ended in a real haze. Am I exaggerating?
You were actually very sweet about it, because you saw that I was devastated because I had Gypsy for a very long time and she was the only comfort I had for a very long time. And so you were being very sweet about it and I took full advantage.
Now, we will have a couple episodes where we talk our rescue, but along the way, we have met a lot of incredible people.
Yes.
We've met a lot of people who are batshit crazy.
Yes.
And sometimes
you live with both of them.
And sometimes they're one and the same. There is a very thin line between this person is great and doing amazing work and this person should be on a watch list. And we're going to find out over like the next hour if our friend Lisa from Eddie's Ranch is, which one is she? So with that said, big carnival person, welcome to Lisa from Eddie's Ranch. Hello, Lisa.
Hi,
Lisa.
thank you for having me. Hi.
Exactly, Ellen, how did Lisa come into our realm?
Oh, so the rescue that I was volunteering, well, that I still do volunteer with, just not actively right at this moment, had asked me to foster a dog, and I'll shout them out. That's Gal's Best Pals. They had asked me to foster a special needs Yorkie. You and I historically have had a lot of special needs senior dogs. And so they had asked me to take this Yorkie that was having seizures, and they were trying to find, a good cocktail of medicine for him and like some stability for him. So we are good with that kind of dog. So we took him. But then because I travel so much with my job, we needed a backup. And Lisa, luckily, was that backup. And she has so much experience with medication and with, different kinds of dog illnesses and special needs as well, that it was really like, we really connected and we really bonded because we have a lot of the commonality in the kinds of dogs that we like to rescue and the kind of work that we like to do and specialize in.
And Lisa, was Pork Chop the seizure dog?
That was
Yes.
that was the seizure dog, Pork Chop. Yep, that was his name.
Famous pork chop.
Well, Ellen likes to tell people and for those of you listening, I hope it's coming in my reflection that I'm using air quotes. We do senior special need hospice rescue, or as I like to call them, unadoptable. But Pork Chop was one of those dogs that it's because we have 2 or 3 dogs of our own, 2 of which are special needs. We have 3 cats. I wouldn't say 1 special needs, but it's 1 eye and 3 legs. And we also have 2, and they're very difficult, Lisa. They're not really housebroken, teenage boys. And so
I thought you were going to mention the foster dogs, and I was
no.
But I'm not
No.
offended with children.
Hey, Ellen and I have gone round and round with the damage some of these foster dogs have caused, mostly emotional damage. But to my knowledge, none of them have punched holes in every wall in the house. So the children are much worse. But yeah, when Ellen traveled, like Pork Chop was one of those dogs. It's like I can do so much, but when it's a dog that needs to kind of be watched and special care, that okay. So thank you for reminding me. And that's when Lisa came in. So Lisa, why would you take Pork Chop off our hands?
Well, so this was before I started my own rescue. I like to foster and help out other rescues. And because I have experience with special needs, I just thought I could help out. There aren't as many special need foster homes as there should be. And I understand why. It's hard. It's, some cases are really hard and some people don't have the time or the bandwidth to do it. So someone's got to, right? So, and I was friendly with the rescue. So I said I'd help out Pork Chop, and I did. And it was a great opportunity for Pork Chop because I work at a large animal hospital, and, I could get him the medical help that he desperately needed, and I did. So, but I agree with you. He was a lot of work. He was one of my hardest fosters, and I've had a lot in this house, so that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. He was such an amazing dog, so sweet, but his medical issues ran
it was
deep.
a lot. It was a lot of work, and asking Jacques to hold him and administer like a nasal injection while he was in the throes of an epileptic seizure. That was just, and I know what my husband can handle, like more than he might with the dogs, because he's very good with them. He's extremely good. And this was just a step beyond. So I was super grateful to have you.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. And I live alone. So, when he went into those seizures.
What's that like?
Oh my God.
More than once, my sons and I have offered to let her experience that. So.
I will say this, living alone is wonderful on so many levels, but one of the best parts is there's literally nobody to say you can't get that dog or you can't get that cat. So, my house is full, but it's full of rescues, so that's all good. So
now, how did you get into this game in the first place? What is Lisa's origin story?
Okay, so I went to college for animal health and sciences because I wanted to work with animals because I love animals, and I was a vet tech, an ICU nurse, whatever you want to call it, for years.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and then I left for a while and went into the corporate world. And when I went into the corporate world, I didn't want to lose touch with animals, so I always volunteered. So, and I always had a rescue dog, 2 rescue dogs, 4 rescue cats, whatever. The same old story, Ellen, right? It's always a house full of love. And then I went back to work with animals, and I had a very special dog that changed my life, and he was special needs. And, when he passed away, I said, I'm going to do something great for this dog. I want his memory to last. So I started Eddie's Ranch. His name was Eddie. And people do know us as Eddie on Wheels because he does have a social media following. But I said, I'm going to do something big, and I'm going to start my own 501c3 in Eddie's name and, continue my air quote, volunteer work, but as a rescue, and really do a serious go at it. So here I am.
So one of my questions is, how much animal life-saving and medical drugs do you have in your house right now?
Oh my God.
And how much are legal for you to have in this state? When we won't mention the state. Because when we left Qatar, I will tell you this. Here's what I don't like about Ellen's rescue. All in the grand scheme of things, the overall picture. What I don't like is how right she is when it comes to so many things. And we've had dogs that other rescues have given up on that have had, and we won't go down the rabbit hole, but but she makes her own food, which is insane because, I'll walk in the house and I'll be like, I have that split second of like, oh, everything smells. Oh, wait, that's not for me. It's for them. But it works. And then how many times we've been at an emergency vet and they're like, well, we think it might be this or this. And Ellen will say, oh, we were thinking, again, it was this. And then the vet be like, oh, right. You know what? It's probably that. You need this ceiling. You need to do this. And she's like, I got out the house. We're good. Yeah. And so when we left 2014 to move from LA to Qatar, I don't know how many, but we had a full pharmacy. So I'm guessing right now you could like run a triage center out of your house.
Oh, 100%. I actually, on the chalkboard right behind me, there's actually a to-do list, and one of them is sort through medications, because I have bags and bags of medications and
antibiotics,
gabapentin, steroids, painkillers.
Yeah, ways to meds to stop diarrhea.
Yeah.
Sorry,
everything.
Meds to induce diarrhea.
Yeah. No, so I have a lot going on here, but you're never going to find a rescue person that doesn't have a medicine cabinet filled because, the dog's better. They go off the meds. You still have 4 pills. I mean, listen.
Oh my gosh, that's like gold.
Rescue's expensive. And if you way with leaving the vet without having to buy another bottle of an antibiotic or another bottle of a painkiller, then you're winning. So,
I have had vets say to me, well, this dog needs a course of antibiotics. They'll say, do you have them at home? And I'll say, yes, I have the Clavamox. What's the dosage?
Yeah, exactly,
I'm cutting pills and I'm putting it in food, or I'm putting it, and I know which dog needs which medication just on memory alone, and who needs what dosage and how much. And it's just, if I could apply that to other parts of my life, I feel like there would be more success. But I'll take that strange talent, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Lisa, when you said that rescue is expensive, I don't know if you know this, but Rescue Expensive is the cover story on this month's No Shit magazine. I saw it on the newsstand, which is weird that there's still newsstands, but. But
the thing is, rescue is expensive. That's just a true story. Whether you're, bringing over a young dog from, Hurricane Milton, right, and fixing it up, and you're transporting it, you're spaying and neutering, blah, 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 and adopting out. But when you do special need rescue, that's a whole other level. A whole other level. I have over here, my rescue seems to be concentrating these days on dogs that don't walk. So, we're talking MRIs, back surgeries, wheels. I mean, it adds up. It's a lot. But again, someone has to do it. And these dogs are beautiful and need homes too. They just need, a little extra love and a little extra rescuing, and then a little extra when you adopt them, but they're all worth it.
Well, we have many conversations where that's the point of view that Ellen has. And I have the point of view. It's like, there's a really nice farm out in the country that is, that we
that all your childhood dogs went to.
But it's funny now. Have you had this experience, Lisa? And it's amazing. And people, I don't know if there's a term for it. There used to be this show called, not necessarily the news, and they had this segment called Sniglets of like words that don't exist that should. But there has to be a term, and I usually lean towards wingnut. But there is a subculture inside the rescue culture that absolutely cannot get enough special need dogs. And people, if it's sometimes the more needy a dog is that Ellen will post, the more applications come flooding in. And we have a friend, we absolutely love her, and she loves and despises us because we brought to her door 10 years ago, Sippy, who adopted a dog whose back the back half doesn't work. And she has taken this dog all around the world. It's tough for her to have somebody sit for this dog other than her husband because of the medical needs it has every day. But it just brings her so much joy. It's so happy. But that's been our experience. It's like sometimes the more effed up a dog is, the more applications. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, well, that's how I am. I love the messed up dogs. I love the more issues, the better.
Same.
I don't, you know, I don't get a flooding of applications for a dog on wheels, unfortunately. And I don't know why. I wish I did. But that hasn't been my personal experience yet. Ellen, maybe you can send your adopters my way. But I understand that completely. I feel as though there is nothing more rewarding and nothing greater than caring for a disabled dog or a specially able dog, I'll say, right? Like I just feel, I don't know, the bond is amazing to me. Like listen, I've had a ton of dogs, most healthy, some disabled, whatever, and I love them all. We love all our dogs, right? But I will say this, that the bond one shares with a disabled dog or a special need dog is just amazing. It's greater. There's a feeling when you know your dog can't even get water without you, right? You have to put him in the wheels, you have to bring him to the water. I don't know what the phenomenon is, but I'm part of it for sure.
I do think there is, in my experience, yes, I do feel like I get a lot of applications, more than certainly than where the dogs are coming from. Like because we're in New England and we have like a lack of a lot of
dogs on wheels, or
I have not
special
had
needs.
a dog on wheels before.
So I think dogs on wheels just push their opportunity just a little out of the people who want the dogs with disabilities, the deaf dogs, the blind dogs, the dogs with 3 legs. Agreed, people are very willing to adopt them. I think the dogs on wheels, for some reason, and it shouldn't because it's so easy, but I think that set of wheels intimidates people. And I don't really know why, because it takes 1 second to put them in the wheels and then they run over the yard and they're having a blast. And sure, I mean, if you live on the 3rd floor apartment, a dog on wheels probably isn't for you. And I get that. But I think dogs on wheels are just running short of those people looking to adopt a dog.
Well, there was it a Super Bowl commercial a few years ago that had the dog on wheels that I think brought a lot of attention to that community. There was a big commercial, and I thought it was a Super Bowl commercial that had was showing those things. Do you cry, Lisa, every time you see a puppy in a commercial overcoming some obstacle?
Of course I do. Of course I do.
Please ask him that question back, Lisa.
So moving on. So right now, it's not a competition, and I don't know how you win this, but like I said, we have a deaf dog, a blind dog, a 3-legged dog, and a 2-legged dog. And what is amazing,
I mean, I'd say you win right there.
but what is it exactly we're winning? But it's funny because we just had a really good friend of mine, another comedian. So I have a routine about rescue in the whole community, and and it starts off saying that people who run rescues, hearts of gold, doing the Lord's work, and that's coming from an atheist. And then I say people who run dog rescue, batshit crazy. And then I start to talk about art, and most people think it's a bit. So when he came over on Halloween with his 5-year-old, he was like, "Oh shit, this is a real thing." And his little guy just couldn't wrap his head around where's the dog's legs. And this is a guy who loves he has 2 dogs. He lost his love of his life a couple years ago, and they just got another dog. It took a while to get over it. But he calls me the next day, and he texts me, and I send Ellen the text. I'm like, I think my buddy Wayne's your next best friend, because he's like, if we didn't have 2 dogs right now, the 2-legged dog just struck a chord. Because when you see that this dog has no idea and fights and wrestles with the other dogs as if it's a normal four-legged,
Right.
canine, or how it gets up on the couch. It's like, wait a minute. How do you get up on the couch and how do you get down off the couch? And it does, and it doesn't know. And I think people are just so, and I don't know if inspired is the right word, but it kind of is like, holy shit, this dog has more shit going wrong with it than I ever have. And it's so happy. And I think it's a
Right.
contagious thing. And I think that's something that draws the people, to it.
Definitely one of the most amazing things about dogs is how they, where we've had them where they've gone blind or they've been born blind or had an eye removed or a limb removed or, born with no front legs. They don't complain. They don't make a fuss about it. They get past it with our help with the pain management and helping them through the surgery. And then once that's done, they're just moving on. They're all about their treats again, going out for a walk. They're all about living life. And it's incredibly inspiring. It makes you, and there's a little bit of a savior, like a savior moment that you have when you rescue or you help one of these dogs or you adopt one and you have it. It kind of feels special because like we've had a lot of fun going to the dog park with special needs dogs because everybody wants to know about them and talk about them and they marvel over them. So there's a lot of serotonin boost in that too, because you're like, look how awesome we are, but also look how awesome the dog is. So it's a very interesting feeling and phenomenon to have special needs dogs.
But and that's when I'm like, oh, thank God our kids are too dumb to go to college because we can't afford it anymore. See, so it all ties into like hey, the world needs. So obviously we won't go over what the toughest part about rescue is. The second part, I'm going to ask you, Lisa, in the past 5 years, how many times have you failed as a foster?
Well, in the last 5 years, not as much as you think, but hold on, let me think about this. The one, Josie Lynn, who's sitting on my lap, she was a foster fail. 5 years though. That's a lot to look back on.
Is it because you had a lot of short-term dogs that didn't make it that long?
Well, I adopt very seniors. I adopt seniors. So
the
believe it
hospice
or
dogs,
not,
I call them, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really good at not having foster fails. What I'm not good at is just setting out and adopting a dog. And everybody says to me, how do you decide who's a foster and who are you going to place and who's someone you adopted? So in the last 5 years, I probably adopted about 7 dogs and only had 1 foster fail. So I'm not that bad. I almost had a foster fail, the last dog I had in the house, but someone swooped in and adopted her right in time.
Ellen, why don't you explain what a foster fail is?
So it's when you foster a dog and you cannot bring yourself to adopt it out or to have it adopted, that it stays. And I don't know, I think it's I don't want to say the word fail. I think it's a foster success.
Yeah. I do think when you find the dog that's supposed to be part of your family, and there's something, that
it's a really weird feeling. Something just clicks. When we have a 3-legged pit bull, her name is Valkyrie, and when she came to stay with us, when I saw her, I said, Jacques needs to meet this dog because I think she's not going to leave once he meets her. And I was right. And as soon as he met her, that became our dog. Yeah. And when he sent me a picture we have a deaf Boston Terrier named Iggy. And when he sent me a picture from the picture of the dog with Jacques, I was like, oh my God. And that's our dog, Iggy. Yeah. So that's the thing. It's like, there are definitely dogs that you feel like this is our dog. And there are other dogs that you love so very deeply and you cry very deeply when they get placed, but it's not a cry of loss. It's a cry of like, I'll miss them in my house every day, but that they're in the home that they belong in.
Right. And for me, because especially once I started the rescue, so my rescue's fairly new. I've been, official, right? We've all done rescue forever, that, but officially a rescue, as much as I want to keep the dogs and have them fail into my life, then I can't rescue another.
Exactly.
Right? So as a rescue, and I'm putting myself out there and I'm a rescue and I'm, saying, adopt this dog, look at this dog, look at this dog. If I just keep every time someone calls me and says, I have a dog on wheels, I have a can you take them in? If I keep everybody, then I'm no longer a rescue. I've become a sanctuary.
Right.
I get emails every day. People, I have 2 dogs in my house right now that I'm fixing up medically and they'll find homes, which has me at 7 dogs, which is fine. But if I kept them, for an example, I have room for what? How many more dogs? I
Right.
live alone and I have 7 and everybody has a disability.
Right.
So no one does stairs. There are 2 dogs on wheels. I mean, if I don't, as much as I love them, place them into another loving home, then my rescue shuts down because I can't help anybody else.
Yeah, it's the number one thing that I'm asked. How do you give them up? I'd be too sad. I could never foster because I'd be too sad. And I say, well, I'm sadder for the dog that's in the shelter that's not going to make it because I have a home for this dog and I'm going to keep it. And so it's the number one thing I tell people.
Yeah, and it's true. I get emails every single day. Can you help me with my cat? Can you take this dog? Can you take this dog? And I look around, I'm like, all right, well, if this one finds a home in the next 4 weeks, yes, I will take your dog, but I can't take your dog until this dog gets its back surgery. So it's unfortunate. It's just got to be a revolving door. Right. And then, I do own 5 that literally were mine before I started the rescue. So I have 5 special needs that I own. So everybody else is just extra.
Now, I know the answer, whether Ellen wants to admit what the answer is, but I'm going to ask you, Lisa, if you got an application describing your house and your situation, would you adopt to you?
Yes, I would, but I'm sorry. All right, everybody. I would, because that just shows that I'm compassionate. I mean, I might ask for pictures of the house, you know what I mean? But yeah, I know. Crazy, we're crazy dog people.
Because it's true. It's like one of those things. It's like, well, Ellen works a lot. There's kids in the house. There's dogs. There's cats. And it's like, if she walked in the house, they'd be like, no, they have way too many. And she would not adopt to us.
Well, I would probably. Somebody would have to be pretty desperate to, you know what I mean, to come to this house. But no, yes, I mean, I think 5 dogs is fine for somebody to own.
Right. I've said the same thing to him. I say, yeah, you're probably right, because I would want to think that, there would be not enough resources for everybody. And if they needed a lot of specialized care. So yes, so we are capped at 3 dogs and 3 cats. Jacques would like the cap to be 1 to 2 of each, maybe even 0, but the cap is 3 and 3. And so traditionally in our house, it's always been 3 and 3. We don't ever go over that. And that's generally the line that I will follow.
Whoa. We don't go over that as in ones we own.
As in owning, yes.
Right. But there's a loophole.
Right now we have 2 fosters.
And then she tries to play the loophole game of like, well, that one's missing an eye and a leg, so that doesn't count as a whole cat. So we can
you have to put them together in pots, right? Well, I'm at 5 dogs, 4 cats, which was an accident. I really didn't set out to have 4 cats and 2 ferrets. So I'm up there, and then whatever fosters come through.
But what do they collectively weigh? Because that's I feel
not
like,
a lot. Not a lot.
Right. I feel like that counts.
Not a lot. Probably all 7 dogs together probably weigh 80 pounds at max.
Right.
All 7 of them, So
that's one mastiff.
I'm little dog, little disability home over here.
Now, not too personal a question, but how many sleep on the bed with you?
2 dogs and 3 of the cats.
Okay.
So 2 dogs, and that
that's a safety issue, though, right?
It is a safety issue. That's a true story, Ellen. Yeah. Right? Because my blind dog will fall off.
Yeah.
My dog that I have a floppy dog, as most people would know, they're called that, but he's got cerebellar hypoplasia and he can't stand or walk, and he flops around, so it's unsafe. And unless I start getting bed rails and I act like I'm in the hospital, I can't do it. I mean, I have to keep some sort of sanity in this house.
Yes.
Okay.
I have only 2 dogs that can safely sleep on the bed, so that's it.
And how is feeding time at your ranch?
Feeding's pretty fun in this. I am very lucky with the animals that come through. Right now, everybody stays in their lane. My family's big on chicken. I basically cook, roast, buy chicken for everybody with mixed in with a good quality dry dog food because that's important. And everybody just gathers in the kitchen and stares at me like a typical house while I'm getting everything ready. And there's no arguing, no fighting. Everybody stays at their own bowl. And then I do have an 18-year-old poodle that is obsessed with food. And she will be sure that any leftovers left in her belly. So she goes around as the dogs move away, she takes over their bowl. But it's a lot more sane than people think it is in this house.
No,
You know?
we have been so lucky. I mean, we've if you total them up, we're talking hundreds and the
Yeah,
hundreds of dogs that
yeah.
we've had, and we've really it's insane have had no like and when we've had issues, it's been with our own dog maybe being jealous. But as soon as you start like rounding up the dishes, a couple of them like panic to get into their crates because we feed them in their crates, and it's
Uh-huh.
like and they're pawing at the door to get into the cell, not out of his cell.
Right, right.
And
They
it's
want
just
their space. They want their little dining area.
they do, and
Yeah,
it is not.
they're all very good about it. Like we train them to go in their crates for feeding and for bedtime.
Yeah.
It's always a positive experience. They they love going in there for whatever, meal times are like, just alone time too, just to get away from the pack. Because right now we have such a difference of size of dogs. I mean, I don't know. We have a giant black Saluki right now with long hair. He's the blind one who came from Qatar, and his name is Shuja. And he's enormous. I don't know what he weighs. It's not a lot because he's
No,
like
I mean, literally, he's the tallest dog. He's in the top 10 percentile of the tallest dogs that we had, but I don't think he's 20 pounds.
yeah. He
What,
can't.
really? He's just
No,
really tall?
he's really, really, really tall, but he doesn't have a lot of mass. And so I would say that he doesn't weigh more than our pit bull, who is like very small and compact and really densely packed.
Or it's
So I
not
would
as a
say,
pit bull.
yeah, and she's like, but you can pick him up. I can carry him in and out of the house, this giant Saluki, all the way down to we have like a 6-pound Yorkie.
But he
And
could
so
pull a sled. Like we're
he
going
could.
to
He's
find out
strong.
in a
Oh,
few
he's
weeks
strong.
if we actually can pull a sled with him, which would be fun. Yeah, so mention pit bulls and stuff like that. It's funny because we are no breed at all. Like every dog that comes in here is a different, and like I said, Salukis is for somebody who doesn't know what a Saluki is. It's basically a long-haired Mid-Eastern Greyhound. They're big in the Mid-East, and they have very, very long coats. And they look big, but they're like skeletons with like somebody threw like a 1971 Zsa Zsa Gabor mink coat over it type thing. But we've had 3 pit bulls or I've had 3 pit bulls in my life. Each one a bigger like ankle licker than the others. Like between the 3 of them, there's been zero aggression in them. Now when it comes to is there any dogs that if somebody called like you wouldn't feel comfortable around, or that you prefer not to have? Well, obviously a Mastiff or like a Great Dane in your place, because that changes the dynamics with all the little dogs. But is there any dogs that you try to stray away from, or whatever comes knocking on the door?
No, it's whatever comes knocking on the door. As long as they are, little dog friendly or cat friendly, because I have to be careful. Like the reality is, I want to help everybody, but if somebody says, "Oh, I don't know what they're like around small dogs," or "I don't know what they're like around cats," I have to put my own animals first. I have blind dogs,
Yeah.
dogs that they can't get away from a dog if they're attacked, basically. So, but yeah, no, I take in everything. And what's funny is I got this reputation as being a Yorkie person, because my Eddie was a Yorkie. So I have rescued 2 beautiful, healthy Yorkies. They call me and say, "Will you help me place my dog?" They're not special needs and not disabled, but I know they're going to be in my house for 2 days because people are going to fight for them, right? And that's exactly what happened.
I call
So
those fundraiser dogs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, oh, I got one picture's posted, and I get
Yeah.
17 applications. Funny, the last one I had. I'm sorry, I'm trying. My dogs are starting to play. The last Yorkie I was asked to place was legit, like a 2-year-old, perfect 4-pound Yorkie. It went right into the foster home. See, another foster home. There's a
I'll
trick.
take the next one you get.
Yeah, it went right into a foster home. That's a trick to not have a foster field. But I actually had a gentleman show up and ring my doorbell trying to get the Yorkie.
Yeah.
I was like, what? This is my home.
Yeah.
So yeah, so those fly off the shelves. But I would say no, excuse me, will you please stop? This is my foster. I wouldn't say no to anything. And you know what? I wouldn't say no to a Mastiff or, a Great Dane. It would be, my house would be super full.
Right.
But I'm never going to turn my back on somebody that might be on the euthanasia list. I just can't. You're married to Ellen. You just can't. You just can't.
Have you had puppies, like anybody give a litter in your house?
Nope, not since I've been in official rescue. I have had litters of puppies in my home before. But no, I again, it's not something I would say no to if it was an emergency, but my rescue really is geared toward senior and disabled dogs.
This is our story that happened twice. We are living in LA, and the inn was full. Jesus, we had no more room. Ellen was getting ready to go to Boston, and somebody was driving up from San Diego on one day and leaving a dog with us, and on the next day somebody was coming 2 hours from north, so we were like the halfway point.
Yeah.
And so we're just going to have this dog. I don't even know if we're going to have it for a full day, if it's a drop off and pickup. And we're standing, so we have this alleyway. We lived right at the beach, and we had this alleyway outside, this fenced in area, and we're talking. She is packed. She is leaving for the airport. And we hear the unmistakable sounds of puppies being born.
Oh, no way.
And
in the alleyway.
In the alley, like in the crate in the alley. And I'm like, what is that? So
I kept hearing squeaks.
So we a couple years ago had a run where we had a couple long-term fosters, a couple dogs, one dog, absolutely a great dog. Absolutely a great dog. It's one of only 2 times I think it went to a home and came back, and it was just because it was just too big of a dog for the person and a little too much work. A great dog. I mean, we would have kept him if we could. And we just had dogs forever, and I needed a break. The boys, our boys need a break, and I think Ellen needed a break, and we're done. But then we get the call. It's like, okay, this dog needs a house just for a week. It's just for 1 week. They have a foster. It's a pregnant dog. It's going to the foster. They're not in town. They're coming back in 6 days. And I don't think the dog was in our house a half hour. And Ellen starts her crap of like, but it would just be great. And I haven't bottle fed and the boys like it. And it'd be great. And I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We need a break. We need a break. We need a break. And I come home from a show, and I will never forget the day, because I get home a little past midnight, and it's like, it's like 12:30 in the morning, and I'm sitting down. I had a show. I got back from a gig, and I hear, and they start having puppies. The dog starts having puppies, and I go up and I tell them, it's like, hey, I thought it over. You can let the dog have puppies here. And she's thinking, oh, that's...
Why are you waking me at 1 a.m. to tell me?
And then she realizes I'm not being nice. She sprints downstairs, pushes me out of the way. I think 8 puppies over like the next few hours. But again, 3 days later, 4 days later, within the next week or two, within the next week, she's on a plane for work going to Chicago, and now I got our 3 dogs, 3 kids, or 2 kids, 3 cats, and 8 puppies. I think it was 8 puppies.
I think it was 8 puppies.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a big lab mix, so they were big puppies too.
They were big and stuff. So I don't know if you've done the bottle feeding, that you've done the giving them fluids.
Yes, and I've done a lot of kitten bottle feeding. So, I'm big on that. I have bottle fed puppies, but not for a while. So for me, because I live alone, so everything I take in this home, it's only me. So I always have to be really aware of who's in my house and what can I handle. Because then it gets to a point where, if I can't, give this litter of puppies the attention they need, I'm not the right place for them to be. But kittens, bottle feeding, oh my God, more than I could possibly count, over my lifetime. And it's always a blast. It's always so fun. When I have puppies, I actually almost can't wait for them to leave because it's like, 8 weeks of a lot of hard work and it's exhausting and they're
It is.
poop everywhere and they're crying and they're barking and it's so awesome to experience it. But when they find homes, people used to say to me, "Oh my God, it must be so hard when the puppies find homes." I'm like, no,
It
it's
is not.
not.
It is not. After the first 4 weeks, you just want them gone.
Yep, it's time for them to
Yeah,
go.
you just want them gone.
But
And
the kittens just, oh my God, if I could have kept every litter of kittens I ever bottle fed or had, I would be the crazy cat.
I agree with you.
We've
I
had
think
that
kittens
twice.
are way better.
We've
Yeah.
had
kittens-
people drop twice, and twice a few years ago, we had people just drop pregnant cats on us. And we're like, we're not
Oh my
cat
God.
rescue. I've been on the record. I do not like cats. They're not my thing. That said, we have 3 of them, and she moved out to LA with 3 of them. But yeah, but we've had people like just dump. Oh, you're a rescue? Good. Here's some. Take care of these things.
It's crazy. It's crazy, but at least they dropped it to the right house, But yeah, oh my gosh, those kittens, bottle feeding those kittens and watching them, Ellen, when they start to hop and take steps. Oh my God.
It's adorable.
No,
And
kittens are more fun than puppies ultimately, and they're so much cleaner because their bodily functions are easier to handle, and then they start using a litter box. It's just like a nice transition. But puppies don't care. Puppies go everywhere and they make a mess everywhere and they chew everything up and they're loud. But yes, if I was going to compare the two, I would rather have a kitten litter than a puppy litter, even though puppies are fun to play with.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. And truthfully, I'd rather take in, 10, 15-year-old dogs over a litter of puppies, because I'm an old dog person. I love them. There's something about a senior dog that I just love them so much, so that's, that's why I have a house full of them.
I have great footage because she was in Chicago and we had one of those like little kid wading pools with the puppies in, and or that's what they ate in. And I put the phone in the drop ceiling looking down, and when I put the food down, it literally, if you mashed it up with like sound effects from The Walking Dead, it looked like zombies, just like devouring, like, some poor, a bunch of walkers going after a person. Have you had a dog that other people said it's unadoptable, or that you can't fix, or that, we can't find a home for this dog, we can't find a foster because it doesn't like cats, it doesn't like dogs, it doesn't like people, and all of a sudden you got the most amazing dog that gets along with everybody?
I don't know about it being the most amazing dog that gets with everybody, but my Eddie was kind of that story. So when I adopted Eddie, he was 5 years old, was returned to the shelter 3 times, didn't walk, was leaking urine. He was a hot
Sounds
mess.
perfect.
What? Sounds perfect. Right? Had all his teeth removed from what the only reason I ever came up with, and the rescue didn't confirm but alluded to, somebody pulled all his teeth because he was snappy. And when I went to pick him up, my sister came with me, and I'll never forget her holding him on her lap, and she was like, "Ugh, like, I cannot even believe you're taking this dog." And I was like, so, and I took him home, and as it turned out, the world fell in love with him. Right, he became quite popular on social media. But he was what I would have probably considered, even when I adopted him, unadoptable, and he turned out to be amazing. I mean, he was my soul dog for sure. Was he the dog that, the world would have fought over for because he was like the friendliest, the cleanest, the funnest? Like, no. But to me, he was pretty special. But through the rescue, I feel like people, when I take in dogs that need wheels, I think for the most part, people feel like it's going to be a very difficult placement for me. But they turn out to be amazing dogs, and they turn out to be wonderful placements. So,
I'm looking forward to taking Trixie to the dog park when she has her wheels. The toughest part about me taking like the small dogs or the special needs dogs, out for like, walks when we lived right at the beach.
mhm.
And the toughest thing is like, especially when the boys were like one of my little boys would be like 2 in a stroller, and you're pushing a stroller and you got a couple special need dogs. Ellen, what was the toughest part about that?
About pushing strollers.
Like specifically if I was at the beach pushing like,
Oh yeah, Jacques had a real hardship when he would take our very cute children and our little tiny special needs dogs to the playground, because women would not stop coming up to him to ask about the dogs, to pet the dogs, to coo over the babies. So oftentimes I was like, oh, what a wonderful husband I have, who takes the children and the dogs on a walk at the beach. I have the best husband, and I can just stay here and relax for a few minutes. And there's always an ulterior motive there. And we're at the beach in LA, and there's women coming up to him constantly telling him how cute and how wonderful he is. So yeah. So see,
it's a hardship. It's a hardship.
Special he is, Ellen, for adopting a special need dog.
Seriously, he's so excited to take Trixie to the dog park or wherever else that he's going to get like all these women telling him how wonderful he is and how amazing he is, and what a good person he is to take in a dog like that.
It's funny though. It's true when you are out in public with a special need dog, like that 5-minute walk turns into an hour walk because everybody stops you and everybody wants to know. But the way I look at it as it's education.
Yes.
Right. Like, look at how my wonderful walk, and this dog's on wheels, but I'm still walking my 2 miles a day. Right. And it's just, the more you can educate people, the better. But it is never, even a dog in a baby carriage is never a quick errand.
Right.
Everybody has to stop. And
that's our next stop, Jacques.
The new puppy, man. Like all the ads were like,
Right.
bring a puppy, guys. You get all the attention from the girls. A disabled dog are the new puppies in that sense.
And it is. It's a never because and it's funny what a bonding community it is. Like, I have a friend, another comedian, Sally Mullins, in L.A., and she has been doing rescues. Like it's this community, and Ellen has met her, and I don't know if you guys have you guys ever worked a dog together.
No.
But same thing. She because it's harder back there, Lisa, because of the kill shelter and because of the number of dogs. It is so for many years when we would come back and forth 4, 5, 6 times a year, either together or one of us coming back for an event, and the number of times we would bring dogs back. Because we tell somebody
from
like,
LA to Boston,
go look at Pet Finder, look at the dog that you want. It's in the shelter somewhere. We're a rescue. We can get it. We can get the shots and the spay and the neuter. Housebreak it for a couple weeks, because we always had, kids and cats and other dogs, and basically bring you a perfect, gift. Because here there is not, shelters are not overrun like they are out there. So Sally's big thing is she's on the, what do they call that? The call from the warden list, Ellen?
It's called the New Hope list, and it's kind of the last resort kind of thing. Like, they'll contact us to see if we want to, because I used to be on the list too, that if they had a dog that they needed to be placed. And also there's a lot of volunteers and like a lot of people that will share those dogs. Although I myself would just walk directly into the sick room and say, what do you got?
Right.
And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, so she's a comedian. She lives a couple hours north of LA now, and she comes to the city, 2 or 3 times a week. And it's how many of these sick animals is she going to have? Because, if she's doing an overnight thing, she'll have 3 or 4 animals that have to have this every few hours and that.
Yeah.
So her car is a rolling triage
Yeah.
and everybody knows that. So when she pulls up, it's like, oh, how many are in here with you? You know what I mean?
Right,
Which one does
right.
this one have? And I mean, it's an incredible, like, we've met some of the most incredible people doing this because, you have to be a little weird and a little whack, but also just have like hearts that are enormously big.
Yeah, and it's all, we understand each other, right? And rescue people, we're cut from the same cloth. They're my people, and I'm sure Ellen feels they're her people, right? Like some of the most remarkable people I've met have worked with rescue, and the work they've done has been amazing, and they're just good souls and compassionate people. And, we all like to kind of be with, like-minded people, right? That's how we pick our friends and stuff like that. So it is a crazy group, but rescue people are cool, good people.
There's definitely a different language that we kind of speak within each other to each other, because when I say if someone's like, I have a friend who's going to be taking care of Trixie, and she's easy because she's got just 2 front legs missing. She doesn't have any other medical issues or anything. And I have a friend who's taking care of her, and so I will go through her schedule and how to bring her in and out and everything. But like, let's say, for example, you were going to watch Trixie for a week, and I'd be like, here you go.
Right. That's right.
Like, here you go. There.
She'll be tied to your front stairs when you get home from work.
I'll see you in a couple days, because I know that you would know that, whether or not she needs assistance to go up and down the stairs, whether or not she should be on the couch, whether or not she should be on the bed, because I already have that confidence built in. And I also know that, you're not intimidated by that. I don't
Right.
have to reassure you and say, oh, well, be careful with these stairs or be careful with that. Like, you'll have kind of that already parked in your brain, and it makes life easier for me too. Like when we would exchange pork chop, and I would say, okay, here's his meds, and I would just hand them to you, and I'll say, oh, they upped this dosage by 0.5 milligram, and you would just like, bank that information. It was great. It's very, and I'm not saying that I'm not grateful for my friends who do take care of my dogs when they're, when we need them to, but it's very meticulous planning, and I do a lot of schedules and a lot of like written out notes, because it's important that they know what to do with the dog and everything. But there's definitely a different kind of interaction when it's people who are in rescue.
Absolutely. And we all feel the same way, and we're all on the mission together, right? So it's just a great group of folks.
Well,
I always consider them my people.
Well, here's a miscalculation that I made. In 2014, Ellen got this insane job offer. Actually, she got the job offer in 2013 to be a nanny in the country Qatar. And this family chased her for a year to take this job. And when, the decision was finally made to take it and to relocate to to a place I can't point to at a map at the time, I thought, well, this is a big change. This is a lot. This is going to be a great adventure. And at least we don't have to fucking do rescue. I don't think she was there a month before. Oh, not only is there a rescue community, it's global. It's a global rescue community. And we left Qatar 2016, and she's still tied to those people, where the 2 dogs that we have upstairs, the 2-legged one and the blind one. So even during the pandemic, like, we would drive out to JFK because they were only flying. For whatever reason, they were only flying dogs to JFK. And here we would drive 5 hours, sit there at JFK and wait for, our dogs to come out. But we moved to the other side of the world, and instantly she found herself / us entwined in the rescue comedian. I wish. Nothing funny about it. No, the community. And how many dogs did we bring home from Qatar? Like, how many dogs did we bring? Like, in the same thing, it's like, we would fly from point A to point B. Now, this wasn't a we thing at this point, Lisa, because Ellen's job was traveling with this family. So it was my job traveling with our 8 and 5-year-old and our dogs and pets. And there was one time I'm going through Germany, and we had, I think it was a dog and a cat, or 2 dogs and a cat as carry-on. And there was connecting flights. Like there was no, like at the time, like the first couple of years, there was no direct flights to LA and Boston from Qatar. And there was 2 checkpoints coming in from Qatar and then getting on to the other side of the airport. We were flying to either Boston or where I had to take them out of the crate, put them. I mean, it literally, and
You
all
are
the
a saint. You are a saint.
But you're all leaving out the information, the very vital information that when I was traveling with the family, I was working and on a private jet.
Yeah, right. She's flying on a private, and she worked for the royal family, and she is literally on a private jet going around the
Or
world.
business class. Sometimes we slummed.
Well, when we were flying, they flew. It was a bait and switch when they flew us over to Wine and Dine. The boys, and I cannot say this. I don't know if there's anybody who's listening to the podcast that this will affect, but under no circumstances are you to ever fly Emirates business class, because if you fly Emirates business class and then you fly domestic first class, it's like a fucking stagecoach, and it ruins you.
It ruins you for life.
Ruins you. It's like all the poor girls who dated me in the past. I mean, it's like once you start at the top of the mountain, there's nowhere to go but down. But they did. The boys and Ellen, because I went last minute. I wasn't going to go to this first trip, but the beds recline. You're in your own pod. So that's what she's flying around the world. I'm trexing through the airport with a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, all this stuff. And I'm getting the looks of pity you can't imagine. Like you can't possibly gather but the easiest ones to travel with the boys. They traveled so much that they were actually helpful. You know what I mean?
Right. Like he had them.
But it's a global community. It's not a regional thing. It's not a national thing. It is a global thing, and it's great.
Don't forget we adopt from Taiwan too. We rescue from Taiwan. I have a contact there who has sent us dogs from there too. So we've had Taiwan, we've had Qatar. We have helped, like, so many dogs go to Canada and the UK, and yes, it is a global community, because I'm on groups on Facebook where I see the dogs that end up in like Scotland or Germany or, Amsterdam and England, which, if you know anything about international travel with animals, it's like trying to get a dog into England is a lot of work, and it's done. And, I will also, shout out the rescue in Qatar, Paws Rescue UK. And they have a point person in Qatar who runs like the groundwork, and the person in England who, like, that's Allison and Emily. Like, the work that they do is incredible in a country that has like not a lot of resources for animals and not as much compassion as we do in the United States. And so my mission with them has been to take dogs like Shuja, who is blind, and dogs like Trixie, who are missing limbs, and other animals that we've had Logan, who was missing a front leg. We had Jacques, a cat who was missing a front leg. We took 2 cats that were blind. These animals would have had zero chance over there. They would have lived their lives in a facility, and we've gotten them all adopted. And now we're working on Shuja and Trixie, the 2-legged and the blind one, and we'll get them homes, but, although Jacques will be glad to hear that the CDC is not allowing any more imports of dogs. So we're going to be slowing down on imports of animals for now. Not that they're enough in the States.
Well, then I will be calling you often to be a foster home for me then.
Well, what I will tell you that Jacques said, if we were to do this again, because I have a senior dog who is now getting tired of having puppies in the house, and I don't want her to spend the rest of her days unhappy. So I did say that we would not do any more fostering for a while. And Jacques said, well, unless it's tiny and old and toddling around. And I said, oh, I will keep that in mind. So Lisa.
Yeah, that's right. That's right up my alley. Next one in.
So Lisa, how many over the next 6 weeks, how many Christmas cards will you get that families send you with the picture of their dog saying, our family wasn't complete until, mutton chops, came into our world?
Let's see. Over the oh goodness gracious. We'll just cut it down to over the last 2 years. um, maybe 8 or 9 over the last 2 years.
Isn't it the best?
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? It is the best. And this is what I love too. And, you know, the people I adopt to, obviously, I think highly of and I love, and I gave them one of my dogs, right? So obviously I wouldn't have if I didn't think that. But they are all so good. There is nothing like just going about your day on a Tuesday and at like 3 in the afternoon getting a picture of one of your dogs you placed out for a family hike or, getting their portraits taken or taking the kids to school. And I'm so grateful that these families still send me updated. Sometimes I get phone calls that say, because one of the dogs I adopted out lives in Washington, and the gentleman actually called me and said, "Hey, we're going to the Cape. If you want to see her, I'm happy to meet you."
Oh,
And
that's
I
the
was like, "Oh,"
best.
and unfortunately, I was traveling, so I couldn't. But I was so grateful for that, and I'm like, "How awesome is that?" That
Yeah.
he's like, "Lisa might want to see this Bella." This was one of the first Bellas that I seem to adopt a lot of Bellas, but. From 2 years ago that he was still thinking that I might want to see her for a hug and a kiss or her original family that had
Yeah.
a very, very
You know,
legitimate reason for giving her up. They wanted them to be able to visit her as well, which I
Yeah.
love.
well, we did when that litter that was born, and it was Valentine's Day. So here, I don't give Ellen Valentine's Day presents anymore for two reasons. A, it's Valentine's Day with me every day. So for that's
Yes,
A.
that's how I feel too.
And secondly, that dog had puppies, 8 puppies on Valentine's Day. You can't compete with that.
No, that's it. That was the gift of all gifts.
Oh, you got me flowers this year. How nice. Oh, you got me. So, but it was several months later when there was a meetup at the vet, with all of them.
Oh,
and
fun.
it was stupid fun. And I hate to admit the stupid fun stuff, but Ellen a few years ago, and this has happened a few times, but there was a few years ago, she got a message, I think it was on Facebook, a private message from somebody letting her know that their dog passed away that had adopted from her 10 years earlier, and that she just wanted Ellen to know she had a wonderful life, that the family was complete because of this, and that the person didn't forget where the dog came from all these years later, like reached out. And it's great that she still had the same email address.
Right.
But when you get the Christmas cards from a dog that you adopted out a few years later, maybe the first year or second year they didn't do a card, but they have the dog in the picture, and they're like,
Yeah,
oh, this, or they passed away, and they need you to know how thankful they are, even after going through the loss, that hey, we had this amazing time because you did this, and it makes it hard for me to say, okay, you can still do rescue.
Yeah, I mean, it's so rewarding. Like, not only did in that situation, Ellen changed the dog's life, but she changed that family's life too. And that's, there are so many different parts to rescue, the ones that are in the trenches, like Ellen and I, right? We're the ones bringing the dogs in, fixing them up medically, falling in love with them, placing them, whatever. But it's on the other side, the people who adopt them, like at the end of the day, it's a full circle type of thing. Like you change that dog's life and you save that dog's life. And there's nothing more rewarding. There's nothing better.
One of the last things I'm gonna ask you before I let you go. Have you had this experience that I have had personally, where you've had family members who are not very supportive of this because it costs too much and it takes up too much of the time and it's a burden on the boys, and then, hey, can you get us a dog? Or I mean that has happened, more than once. My
in
sister.
conjunction with that, I just wanted to say, you ever say to yourself, Lisa, I need new friends because they've all adopted from me, and now what am I going to do?
Right.
I'm out of homes.
No, but we've had that. We've had, like, on one hand, it was a great experience. My sister had a dog that Ellen had known from the previous owner for 4 years, had to give it up. Didn't have to. The guy's a dick. And then my sister, had to give up the dog, and her daughters were crushed. But nobody would take this dog because she's a beagle and she has a loud bark. An excessive bark does not do well with other dogs and does not do well with children and does not, under any circumstances, tolerate cats. And they
That's
were
a hard
trying.
placement.
Well, right. And I said, well, we'll take her and we'll figure it out. And then she spent the next 8 years with us.
Yeah, she lived to 12. She did 4, 4, and 4 in all her different homes. She did the last 4 with us. And, you know, we lived in LA at the time. And I said to Jacques, I was like, go get her. Just bring her here. I've known her whole life. And this is not fair to her. Bring her here.
And my nieces were forever grateful,
Yeah.
you know, that but this dog came to a house that had 3 or 4 other dogs, 2 or 3 cats,
and rotating fosters,
a bunny, at the time a 5 and a 2-year-old, and it was is it Mandy that Tristan's on with the phone, like using her as a pillow?
No, that was a pit bull puppy.
No, that was
The point is
okay.
that she did beautifully in our house for 4 years. We loved her to pieces. We had her the next 4 years. She passed away at 12, but I don't regret it at all. We loved that dog to pieces.
But there have been family members who are like, that's too much work. It's so unfair to the kids. It takes too much time. Oh, next time you come home, can you bring us a dog that we'll have for the next 12 years type thing? You know what I mean? Basically we're like cops. I mean, I hate cops, but if somebody breaks in my house, like, you know what I mean? I'm going to call the cop. So we are the people. It's like, oh, that's too much. You shouldn't do all this. What a lot of money. We lost our dog 2 years ago and we're looking for this. And so have you had that?
So for me,
yeah, go ahead.
For me, it's almost opposite. So you have too many dogs in the house. You don't have the freedom. You're spending so much money. You shouldn't take in any more dogs. But then I'll get so my coworker needs to find a home for her dog.
Oh, I get that too.
So it's the opposite for me, and I will say, like, I have a supportive family. They always think that I have too many dogs, and it's because when they pass away, I'm devastated. And then they, have to console me and pick up the pieces, whatever. They love me and they care. But it's funny because you have too many. You shouldn't take in that much. You're going to run out of money, blah, blah, blah. But can you help? Oh, can you help my friend find a home for the dog? And I'm like, what? And I'm like, now you need me.
It's the same people. It's the same people who say this. You are the first person they call for that. 100%.
No, 100%. Lisa will help. I am looking. I try to help, but
I am looking at the notes, and it says here, yeah, you do have too many dogs. I was just making some note. Yep.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
So let me say out loud how grateful I am to you for sponsoring Trixie, because I really, really genuinely appreciate it. But I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that you had made that offer. And so that's the reason that we're able to get Trixie her wheels, because of your generosity. And I would love to be able to help on getting a fundraiser for you so that we could keep getting dogs carts and hospice care. And although I guess we don't need meds, but we can get
because I think about that.
Somebody will run out.
when somebody wants, I mean, that might be a limiting thing. If a great family wants a Trixie but can't afford one of these things, it's like, I don't want that to be the deciding factor. So
that's why we're sending her out with wheels, because we don't want a family to feel like, well, if we adopt this dog, we don't have the funds to do that. I think that that's an important thing to do. Like we work as rescue to very much set the dog up for success. And that means medically treating them too, so that they may have chronic conditions. She's not going to regrow front legs. We can do whatever we can to make the transition work for them and be as smooth as possible. And then it is their responsibility to maintain that, which I find that when families do adopt a special needs dog, they do everything that they can to keep that dog comfortable and happy and taken care of for the rest of its life. It's really, there is something special about adopters too, who want to adopt a special needs dog.
There are, especially dogs on wheels, I think.
Yeah, I'm actually, and so Ellen had said it when she went to get Trixie fixed. She talked to them about, our guy or our gal. She's, how old is she now? 8? 7?
No, she's 4. We got her in 2021 and she's 3.
Yeah, time means nothing to me. But at one point she's going to need one of those, and we're like, yeah, we should start the process now. So she knows how to use it now, gets used to it now.
Yep.
But yeah, what you do.
Oh, is that Stevie?
It's Stevie Edward. Isn't he
What-
perfect?
Now, what do you when you name your dogs? Is there a naming scheme that you do?
Well, Stevie Edward had a naming scheme because he was the first dog I adopted after my Eddie passed. So it was important for me that Edward, was part of his name to honor my Eddie. So Edward was going to be his middle name. And I literally had like a vision board of every male name you could come up with that went with Edward. And then when I picked him up, there was something about him. Stevie popped in my head, wasn't even on the vision board. And then he became Stevie Edward.
So cute.
Isn't he so cute? So he's my Stevie Edward. But yeah, everybody has middle names. There's always. But
The funniest thing, I will say, the funniest thing is going to Lisa's house and when she's talking to all the dogs, first and last name, like every time. It's not like it's a first name and she just uses that. She talks to them with first and last name. And I was recently on TikTok and I was watching a collection of videos and you popped up. I sent you the video.
Oh, was it Rosie Khaleesi?
Yes, because you called your cat by its full name and everybody was dying over it. The comments were like, did you hear the cat's name? It was
Rosie Khaleesi, Diamond Marie.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that is awesome.
Listen, I live alone. It's crazy town over here.
Ellen does not live alone, and it is crazy town over here. So you are in good company, Lisa. I'm going to just, say thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Thank you for what you do. And seriously, on behalf of Trixie, thank you so much because that's going to make such a difference finding her just a home that deserves her. Like she is just great. And the blind dog we have now, same. I told Ellen, it's like, yeah, if we didn't have 3 dogs, I would definitely keep him because, like Ellen said, he's probably like the second or third dog we've had in the last couple of years that doesn't really know how to be a dog yet. It's like hasn't been in a home and hasn't been around people and doesn't understand. It's like, oh, you're calling me because you want to pet me, not to yell at me. And they're so afraid to come over because, and it's great to watch, that happen. But Trixie's going to need, just a special person to take a 2-legged dog, but having that chair is going to make all the difference. So
all the difference
thank you so very much.
Of course, the way I feel is there are so many different levels of rescue. And just because that dog is not in my home under Eddie's ranch, it was a special rescue. It was an important rescue. And I wanted to be able to contribute,
Well, a lot of rescues practice resource guarding. And they're not as generous. And I will tell you that as someone who's been very experienced in the rescue world, they don't want to share other dogs because it might compete with their dogs. I have no such qualms. And I'm so grateful to have met someone who also doesn't have that kind of a hang up.
Well, thank you. I wanted to, when I created my rescue, I said there are a couple of things I'm going to, try to do a little differently. Like in this case, help with the wheels, have much lower adoption fees with hopes that donations kind of bounce off because I remember before I did rescue, I remember wanting to rescue a dog and it was like $500 and I couldn't afford to. And I'm an awesome dog home, so I said, well, when I start my rescue, so there's just a couple of things I'm learning as I go, but I'm trying, but I am never, ever going to let a dog go without a set of wheels that needs them. So my fellow rescuers, my friends, as long as I'm financially able to, I'm here.
The last thing we have to do is we'll figure out when we're going to do a fundraiser. We have to figure out an app, but we have to figure out an app in which you can start a special needs walking dating app so guys can borrow your special needs dogs.
Yes.
And it's a service where they get to take a dog to a park and the dog gets out and get to be, we don't have a 3-year-old we can throw in a stroller to kind of, because at that point it's shooting fish in a barrel. But we'll get the tech people on that. But this was great. And the most important thing is don't forget.